Positive thinking, negative thinking, right thinking. The starting point of making permanent and lasting changes in your life begins with understanding the difference between positive thinking, negative thinking, and right thinking. Think of the person who sits down to play the piano. As he plays, there is no harmony, no balance, and no real tune because he keeps hitting all the wrong notes. The player eventually gets fed up with this disharmony, lack of pleasure, and lack of beauty in his music and decides to go get a teacher. The teacher says, "You have the ability to play, but you need to understand music." Each of us has the ability to play the game of life with balance, harmony, and joy, but we need to know the rules and the principles. What we want to do here is to work on recognizing, remembering, and using the principles to improve the quality of our lives. Life works according to principle and physical law. If it didn't, you couldn't fly an airplane because there would be no gravity, there would be no such thing as electricity, and 1 + 1 would not equal 2. The laws of the universe must be totally dependable. Universal law is not only dependable, but also unchangeable. You can depend on it, and it will work every time. In essence, the universe will never let you down. It doesn't care how old you are, how young you are, how short, how fat, how skinny, your religion, your nationality, or whether you are a male or a female. The power, the force, or the energy is neutral, and we direct it through our own ideas and beliefs. What we are saying is that your word is the law in the universe. But you need to know these laws. Without an understanding of the laws, through ignorance, you cannot create what you want. The fundamental law to which all other laws conform is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect says that the effect or result of any situation must be equal to the cause. The cause is always an idea or belief. Another way of describing the law of cause and effect is the example of sowing and reaping, or action and reaction, or, put in a modern-day context, my ideas are created into my results. The law of cause and effect is impersonal, just like sunshine. If you are standing in the sun, you receive the warmth and healing benefits of the sun's rays. If you are standing in the shade, it seems like the sun isn't shining on you. But who moved you into the shade? Who moved you into the darkness? The truth is, we are in darkness because of our ignorance. I repeat, the law of cause and effect is impersonal. This is why we can see so many people who are basically good have so many problems and disasters in their lives. Somewhere in their life, that person has misused or misunderstood the law. It doesn't mean that he or she is bad. It doesn't mean that he or she isn't a loving person. It means that through ignorance or misunderstanding, that person has misused the law. This can be applied to any natural law. For instance, aerodynamics or gravity will not kill you, but a misunderstanding of its function will, even if you are a kind, loving, positive person. The universe is like a river. The river keeps on flowing. It doesn't care whether you are happy or sad, good or bad. It just keeps flowing. Some people go down to the river and they cry. Some people go down to the river and they are happy. But the river doesn't care. It just keeps flowing. We can use it and enjoy it, or we can jump in and drown. The river just keeps flowing because it is impersonal. And so it is with the universe. The universe that we live in can support us or destroy us. It's our interpretation and use of the laws that determine our effects or results. We can only receive what our minds are capable of accepting. We can go to the river of life with a teaspoon, and someone else may go with a cup. Someone else may go with a bucket, and yet another person may go with a barrel. But the abundance of the river is always there and waiting. Our consciousness, our ideas, our frame of reference, and our belief system determine whether we go to the river of life with a teaspoon, a cup, a bucket, or a barrel. If we are impoverished in our thinking and have gone to the river of life with only a teaspoon, we may curse the little we have in our teaspoon. We may curse others who have more than we do. But remember, whatever we curse, in effect, curses us. The river is there, and it's overflowing with abundance. We can come to the river of life with a teaspoon, a bucket, or a barrel anytime we want to. What we take from the river of life is up to us. The only limitation is in our own mind. The truth is, we can have anything we want if we'll give up the belief that we can't have it. It's as simple as that. All our experiences have led us to believe certain things about ourselves. Whether these beliefs are true or not really doesn't matter, because if we accept them as true, then they are true for us. If we speak our word long enough, it becomes law in the universe. Pronounce your limitations vigorously enough and they're yours. Whether your beliefs are true or totally insane, if you accept them, then that's what your life will be about. Once we have accepted an idea, it's an idea whose time has come, and there is nothing that can stop it. If we accepted an idea of lack and limitation, it is an idea whose time has come for us. There is nothing that we can do about it except to change our mind. If you plant a seed, it is going to grow. If you plant a tomato, you will have a tomato. The tomato won't change its mind and become a cucumber because it thinks a cucumber is better for you. The soil will give you tomatoes as long as you keep planting them, even if you are allergic to tomatoes. Look at the beliefs that form the groundwork of your life. We are full of beliefs that we have collected over the years, attitudes, ideas, opinions, and conditioning. And we are so full of what we know that when challenged, we dig in our heels and often think, "Don't tell me anything new. I have my beliefs together, and how dare you try to change them? This is what I've based my whole life on. Now you are telling me I could be wrong. I don't want to hear that." So we live with a set of beliefs called religion, a set of beliefs called politics, a set of beliefs about ourselves, a set of beliefs about the kind of people that we like or don't like, and a set of beliefs about everything else. Many of the things that we believe, garnered from experience, groups of people, or individuals, are not true, but they are the things that we have imagined to be true out of our need to survive. Because the will to survive and the desire for order are strong, we create rules about the nature of life and how it unfolds, and these rules become beliefs. Unfortunately, those beliefs can also become limitations. The fact of the matter is, we can only be successful to the degree that we are willing to shed our mistaken beliefs. When we experience sickness, failure, or lack, it is often because of the limitations in our own mind. The sad thing is, even though we know our lives aren't working in certain areas, we are still afraid to change. We are locked into our comfort zone, no matter how self-destructive it may be. Yet, the only way to get out of our comfort zone and to be free of our problems and limitations is to get uncomfortable. We can only experience freedom in direct proportion to the amount of truth that we're willing to accept without running away. We must stop kidding ourselves, stop blaming others, and stop avoiding unpleasant decisions, and start facing the truth that we may have accepted unworkable beliefs that are the direct cause of the events in our lives. It is not a question of going from negative thinking to positive thinking. It is a matter of moving toward right thinking, which means moving toward knowing the absolute truth about who we are and our relationship to life. Right thinking, which is based in truth and not illusion, is the foundation that determines the solidity of all other thinking. Positive thinking and negative thinking are both filtered through our belief system. Right thinking comes from being aware of the truth or the reality of any situation. Always seek to know the truth about any situation in which you are involved. Look behind your present belief system and ask your higher self, what is the truth about this? Your higher self will always reveal the truth to you if you are ready to hear it. When you act upon that truth, you are using right thinking. It's not a matter of being positive or negative, but simply being yourself. And when you are yourself, which means you're allowing your higher self to reveal the truth, every situation you are involved in will resolve itself perfectly. This might sound magical, but it is only the law of cause and effect in action. Of the terms that describe man's difficulty, the term self-defeating is perhaps the most accurate. The aim of all great teachers was to awaken men and women to their self-defeating behavior. People say they want to grow up, assume life's responsibilities, but most of the time what they really want to do is remain a child. They are not willing to change. Instead, they give reasons or excuses as to why they can't be, do, or have what they want. The way out of this is to start by eliminating excuses. If we believe that someone or something outside of ourselves is the cause of our problem, we will always look outside of ourselves for the solution. In order to find the true answers to our problems, we must begin by looking at ourselves in a new way, which will cause us to see people and events in a new way. The outer world is in many ways a reproduction of our inner world. Realize this. How many troubled people do you know who have not given the slightest attention to this fact? No amount of determination, no amount of willpower, inspiration, or motivation will solve our problems if we look outside of ourselves for the answer. The mind attracts whatever is familiar to itself. The frightened mind attracts frightening experiences. A confused mind attracts more confusion. This phenomenon is the principle by which animals are attracted to their own kind. The subconscious mind, which is the prover, will always prove you are right. If you believe that you can't be, do, or have something, you will create the circumstances and find the people to prove that you can't. For example, thinking that you are a fat person will keep you fat. You may lose weight and override the belief, but as soon as you relax and are off guard, your subconscious will take over and automatically support your belief that you are a fat person again. Remember, the job of the subconscious is to prove that your belief is correct. It functions like the automatic pilot of an airplane. If the autopilot is set to go east, you can manually override the controls and go north. But as soon as you let go, the automatic pilot, which has been programmed to go east, will control the plane and you will fly east. Your subconscious does not change the reality of the world around you. It just filters the information that you present to it in order to support your beliefs or the picture that you hold in your mind. If you believe that business is bad, or that there are no new opportunities for your business, your subconscious will not point out new opportunities or direct you in ways to improve your present business. This would be a violation of the principle of mind. It will only point out problems that support your belief that things are bad or that there are no new opportunities. Your subconscious cannot think for itself. It will draw to you only those things that are consistent with your deepest inner beliefs, nothing more, nothing less. If you do not know this as truth and do not realize that you create your potential out of your ideas, you will feel powerless to affect change. You will feel that you are the victim of people, circumstances, and conditions. If you accept yourself as powerless, you will imagine that the only way to get what you want is to get it from another person or an organization. You will look to something or someone outside of yourself to fulfill your desires. When you come to the understanding that everything that you want can be created through your mind, through the use of right thinking, which is simply clear thinking, you come to the realization that only you can give yourself what you want. To create what you want, you have to trust the power within you. Now, when you are told to trust the power within you, immediately you could say, look at the starvation, look at the sickness, the war, and the crime in the world. You are telling me to trust the power? If this power existed, why would it allow this to happen? Well, the truth is, it doesn't allow anything to happen. Remember, we said the power is neutral. It is simply the power of creation. It is the impersonal force of life. We can use this power or life force to create anything that we want in our lives. Even if we choose from ignorance, it doesn't matter. It will support us in our ignorance until we learn from it. The effect will always be equal to the cause. If we're in a ditch, it means the power is supporting us in being in a ditch. If our life is immensely successful, it means that the power supports us in our success. It all comes out of our ideas. We said earlier that our ideas are created into our results. To put it another way, it is done unto you as you believe, not as you want, but as you believe. There is a vast difference between the two. When you think, the universe moves. This means that when you put an idea out into the universe, people, places, and things come into your life to fulfill that idea. When we think, we actually cause things to happen. Look at what this power has done in the universe. Look all around you and see all the marvelous creations, infinite in number. The best news of all is that same power is within you. And the more open, responsive, and receptive we are to this power, the more fulfilling and magnificent our lives will be. If this is true, then how does the power work? You and I are indirect users of the power. Let me explain. When you started your car today, what did you have to do? Well, you had to turn your key, which turned a small starting motor, which in turn started the engine. The starter motor was powered by electricity. Now, what was the direct source of that electricity? Was it the battery? No, it wasn't. A battery is not an independent source. It has to be charged up. Your higher self is essentially a battery within that receives its source of power or energy from the universe. It then stores that power for you to use for the purpose of creation. In science, we have Ohm's law, which states that C equals E divided by R. C equals the amount of electrical energy that is available for your appliance at the place where you're going to plug it in. For example, C equals the amount of electricity to run your toaster. The power to run the appliance is the result of E, which is the direct power source, divided by R, which is the resistance the power meets while getting there. Now, suppose the main power line coming into the building where you live is 750,000 volts, but it comes into your house at 110 to 220 volts to run your appliances. To do this, transformers are used on the power line to reduce the power coming into your house to make it safe for application. This is just like the power available to you. You have the ultimate power of the universe available to you, but it also has infinite wisdom, which might be referred to as a transformer. While our higher self is plugged into the ultimate power of the universe, this power also has enough wisdom to put some transformers in between to insulate it so we don't get too much before we are ready for it and burn ourselves out. Now, if you wanted to bring in more power, what would you do? Well, you would create less resistance, and you would change the wiring to accommodate the additional flow of power. This power is like the water in our earlier example in the sense that a larger container is needed to carry greater quantities. You cannot expect that just because your higher self is plugged into the ultimate power, intelligence and wisdom of the universe, that you can just turn it on, because if you did, you would blow yourself right out. So in order to get our lives to work and take greater advantage of this energy, we have to build a bigger channel for creative intelligence to flow through. To enlarge this channel, we have to expand our consciousness. Expanding our consciousness involves expanding our ideas and beliefs about ourselves and our relationship to this power. And as we do this, we begin to experience more of this ultimate power, and our ability to create greatly increases. You and I are creative beings, and we always have the capacity to create more. In fact, we are always creating, consciously or unconsciously. By knowing who we are and the process by which we can expand the power within, we can begin to move our creation from the unconscious to the conscious. When we begin to create on the conscious level, we can now make choices. When we can make choices, we're no longer the victim of our unconscious reactions, which are determined by our past experiences, conditioning, and outmoded beliefs. If our thoughts do not support what we want, rather than trying to eliminate our negative thinking, all we have to do is center on right thinking and concentrate on the belief system at work. Right thinking is the thinking that is based on truth, and it is right because it will support us in what we are trying to achieve. Your higher self always knows what is best for you. All you need to do in the beginning is to know that you want something better than you have right now. Just keep that thought. Never settle down into self-satisfaction because there is no growth without discontent. While it is important to live in the present moment and accept what is, it is also important to grow from where we are. Study your dissatisfaction very carefully because it will tell you something about yourself. Your life is an ever-changing canvas. What are you going to paint on it? Are you going to paint lack and limitation? Because if you do, your canvas is going to reflect lack and limitation. Have you ever gone to the circus and noticed that the great big elephants are tied to a wooden stake with just a thin rope? Also, the baby elephants have a big chain around their legs that is tied to a long metal stake that goes deep into the ground. This happens because the baby elephants must be chained up when they are very tiny to keep them from trying to get away. If the stake is driven far enough into the ground and the chain is strong enough, the baby elephant won't be able to budge. Eventually the day will come when the baby elephant stops tugging and never again tries to pull away. Someone then replaces the metal stake with a wooden one because they know the elephant has been conditioned to believe that he cannot get away. By creating our own limitation through our belief system, we do the very same thing. We become limited not by reality, but by reality as we perceive it to be. I once had a cat that seemed to believe that he couldn't jump onto high places, so he wouldn't even try. As the cat got older, he grew senile and simply forgot he didn't know how to jump. One day I came home and the cat was sitting on the highest shelf on the bookcase. He had knocked over all the books and art objects. You see, in the cat's senility, he forgot what he couldn't do. What would happen if we became senile in a positive way? We would quite possibly forget all the things that we can't do and just do them. Understand that if your life does not work the way you want it to, it is because you have accepted false beliefs that keep you from being all that you can be. Unfortunately, the majority of people on this planet feel stuck. When we look at the world and see the suffering, misery, and impoverishment, when we see so many well-intentioned people doing without, the world looks insane. We see people giving up, believing that they have to take from others in order to have anything for themselves. Rarely do we look within for the answer to this confusion. Rarely does the individual really look to see what the rules of life are. So what happens is that in our ignorance of ourselves and of life, we hassle, fight, and strain to get what we want. And it ends up not working anyway. You see, life is a game. Some people play the game of struggle. Some people play the game of sickness. Some people play the game of poverty. Some people play the game of being right all the time. Some people play the game of being late. But some people play the game of happiness, abundance, and health. It just helps to understand that each individual plays a game that he or she sets up, and that no one game is necessarily better than another. If the game was not bringing us some sort of a payoff, we'd stop playing. Look at your own life. Try to see the secret satisfaction that you get out of not being fully in charge of your life. What kind of secret satisfaction could there possibly be in feeling victimized? How could anyone enjoy feeling weak or poor or inadequate? Well, the answer is in the payoff or pay value. For example, if you play the weak game, others will have to love you, take care of you, and protect you. It is the ultimate way to get attention. If you play the game of being undecided all the time and let other people decide for you, then you are protected from blame if you make a mistake. In other words, if you keep both hands tied behind you, then you can expect someone to take care of you. In playing the helpless routine, you are actually controlling others. The power of powerless people is remarkable. They are good at making others play the part that they have written for them. Look at the value that you are getting out of your payoff. An example is being sick. Look at the value you get out of being sick. You may be saying, "That is insensitive and cruel. You don't know what I've been through." No, it's not cruel. It's crueler to deny it. What you are really saying is that your disease has more power than you do to decide your destiny. The question